Hello, this is Sweet June 2010. How's everyone doing? Uh, I want to talk about um, I want to talk about like I've said in some of my earlier videos that I like to watch other videos. It helps me to I do it watch them for entertainment purposes, but I also watch them to get a little research or to get some ideas on what videos for me to do. Um, I just I watch a lot of black men video, with black men, and um, I just noticed that they love to say um, they love to throw up the fact that there's 70% of black women that are the head of household. They love to throw that statistic out. Um, I mean, there's video after video here on YouTube of people talking about that statistic. Well, I want to take a closer look at that statistic. Now I admit, even me myself, I got caught up in that statistic myself. I did another video on here talking about that. Um, I kind of was getting caught up in that statistic myself, but I had to kind of marinate on that statistic a little bit. I took a statistics class in college, and one of the first things I learned when I first started the class was statistics is not an exact science. It's not like algebra or some of the other math field, classes that are you can like miss one step in the process and that throws the whole problem off and you got the whole problem wrong. Well, statistics, you can be wrong, you can be off, but you still can be right. Because basically what you do now, I'm not a mathematical wizard. I'm not a mathematical. To be perfectly honest, I struggle with math. I'm not a mathematical person at all. But um, I do know how statistics are compiled because of what I've learned in this class. Is that you actually, whatever it is that you're studying, you take a study of let's say whatever topic it is that you want to study. Like I don't know. Let's say for example, I don't know how many black dogs in the United States versus white dogs. I'm just using that as a parable. Okay, you want to know the percentage of that. So what you're going to do is you're going to conduct your study. You're going to, conduct interviews or do your research and find out, check the records of various different kennels and talk to homeowners and everything around the United States. You're going to compile your research and you're going to find out how many white dogs versus black dogs in the United States. After you compile your research, then that's when you do your work. You take those numbers that you got, and what you do is you find a formula for those numbers. And whatever formula, there's different formulas that you can use to compile that statistic. And so what you do is you take both of those numbers that you got, and you take one of the formulas that you choose to use, and you work your problem. And whatever your end result is from that formula that you use, that is your statistic. Now, like I said, statistics is not an exact science. You can be still off, but still be correct. So when you see a statistic, when they throw a statistic out there, that number does not necessarily mean that this is it for a fact. It just means that it's an average. It's what they came up with after they took after they compiled their research and they took this number and this is what they come up with. Now, however, there is a problem with the 70% black woman head of household statistic. Now, I'm going to tell you what that problem is. What they did is every year, or I don't know, is it every year, every 2 years, or whatever, they do the census thing. They do this census thing. And, they pretty much tell everybody that they have to do this. If there's actually penalties if you don't complete the census report. I've had them knock on my door. I've had the people from the Census Bureau knock on my door and ask me various different questions. How many people are in your household? Are you married, single, whatever? Now you're required to. They send you the form in the mail. Now you're required to get that in, or you can give the information to the person that's coming to your door. It's supposed to be a requirement. There's supposed to be penalties if you don't do this. Okay. What the government is trying to do is that they're trying to compile statistics. They're trying to compile information. They're trying to find out what each household in United States, what is the dynamic of that household. Okay, whether it's a married household, single household, or whatever, one person living by themselves, or whatever, a widow person, or whatever your status is. And what they ask you how many people is in your house, how many kids you have, how many female children you have, how many male children you have, are you married, are you single, are you divorced, are you widowed, whatever, what have you. They take those statistics, and that's how they get their numbers. Now, the problem with the 70% black woman statistic is that they're taking, they take my mother, for example. I just use my mother as an example. My mother is 75 years old. She is divorced. She is the head of household. Okay? They'll go over to my mom's house and ask her, how many people are in your household? Are you divorced, single? And of course she's going to say, I'm divorced. Okay? Now they're going to come over here and ask me. My situation is different. I'm the head of household. I've never been married. Okay? So what they do is they take that, my mom, her situation, and my situation, and they put them in the same statistic. There's an issue with that. That 70% that they throw out there is, you have to break that statistic down, because what they're doing is they're taking black women that are divorced, black women that are widowed, black women that have never been married, and even black women that are single with no children, that are living by themselves, because those black women are out there too. And they're taking all those black women from different walks of life and putting them in the same statistic. So when people see that 70%, because I personally think that the government, wants to make us look bad anyway, so what happens is, when they put that 70% out there, it makes it look like Okay, you got 70% of black women head of household, and people automatically assume that it's a black woman with children, raising children by herself. They're not stopping to think. Now, if you're a logical thinker, if you are a logical thinker, I'm a logical thinker. You got to stop and think. Okay, that statistic has to be broken down. What they're not telling you is they're not telling you how much out of that 70% of black women that are widowed, how much out of that 70% are black women that are divorced, how much of that how many black women out of that percentage that have children and are raising children by themselves. There is now I've compiled a little research. I've done a little research before I started this video, and these are the results that I have. Okay, I got 38.7% black women that have never been married. Okay, I have 11.9% black women that are widowed in the United States. I have 11% of black women that are divorced in the United States. Okay, so they are including, what they're doing is they're including those black women in that statistic. But the problem is when people see 70%, they automatically assume it's a black woman, it's the head of household, and she's raising kids by herself. That's not even what it says. It says 70% of black female-headed households. They never said whether those women had children, all those women had children or not. They never told you that. All they said was it was 70% of black female-headed households. That could be, out of that 70%, you got a certain percentage of those black women that are widowed. You have a certain percentage of those black women that are divorced. They go in a separate category. Okay, what is the percentage? What it is, okay, I'm a black woman that has children that has never been married. That is my situation. Why would you put me in the same category as a black woman that is the head of household, that her husband died or she got a divorce? Why would you put me in the same category as those black women? Okay, the black women. What is the percentage of black women? Well, I didn't get the stats on single black women that have never been married. I have to actually find that stat. I didn't actually get that stat. However, I revealed these statistics to prove a point. My point being is that the 70%, that 70% statistic needs to be broken down. But unfortunately, because there's a lot of people that want to make black women look bad, that want us to look bad and want us to look like there's a whole bunch of us out here raising kids without a father in the home or whatever, having children out of wedlock. Well, that might not be the case. There's a certain percentage of black women that have never been married, that have children, that are the head of household, that have children. But there is a certain percentage of black women that were married and they're head of household and they have children, but they're now divorced. The problem is, like I said, they're putting all of us in the same category. And that's how they're compiling that statistic. That's how they're getting that statistic. They're saying 70% of black female-headed households. They never told you what percentage of those women were divorced. They never told you what percentage of those women are widowed. That statistic has to be broken down. So just because someone, my point being is, just because they throw a number out there don't mean that you got to believe it. That's how they're compiling their statistics. They're not breaking those numbers down. because the statistics, they're designed to make us look bad. They're obviously trying to make us look bad. And then you get these black men here on YouTube that enjoy bashing black women, and they throw that statistic around like it's nothing. Oh, well, 70% of black female headed households. But like I said, you got to break that statistic down. Okay. It's another guy on here that I enjoy watching. His name is Shakama. Oh, you guys, I recommend that you take a look at his videos. This guy is a very, very, very logical thinker. He's very smart, and he's very, very smart, and he's a very logical thinker. And he actually pointed that out. He pointed that out on one of his videos. I can't remember which video it was, but I was watching one of his videos, and he actually pointed that out. That those statistics have to be broken down. You know, now people, like I say, that want to make black women look bad are going to say, and I got to admit, I kind of got caught up in that statistic myself, but then I had to stop and think. I'm like, okay, June, you study statistics. Come on. First of all, like I say, statistics is not an exact science. You can be off and still be right. Okay, so whoever compiled that statistic, they could be a little off. But you got to also include, like I said, they're taking widowed black women and they're taking divorced black women and they're including them in that statistic. And that's how they're coming up with the 70% of black female-headed households. So don't get it twisted. Just because they put a number out there and say, okay, this is what it is, that doesn't necessarily make it true. Okay, so it's just like the black men in prison statistic. Okay, well, how many of those black men are in prison for something that they didn't do? There's a certain percentage of black men that are in that prison for something that they didn't do. What is the percentage of black men that's in that prison for something that they didn't do? What is the percentage of black men that are in prison for, I don't know, tax evasion? Black men do go to prison for tax evasion. There was a few black male celebrities, that went to jail for tax evasion. So that's probably a small percentage, but black men do go to jail for tax evasion. What they're doing, what is the percentage of black men that go to prison for, well, I don't know, stealing or something, a non-hardened, criminal, criminals, it's not a hardened, they're not hardened criminals. They're not rapists, they're not murderers, things like that. Child molesters. They're taking like a black man that gets put in prison for tax evasion, where they're going to include that black man in that statistic. Okay, they're saying that, okay, this is the percentage of black men that are in prison. They're not breaking those. Once again, those numbers have to be broken down. What percentage of black men are in there for rape? What percentage of black men are in there for murder? And then you have to consider there is black men that's sitting in prison right now as I speak for something that they didn't even do. So you really can't get the exact numbers on that because, that's something that has to be proven. So that's up in the air, that's debatable. So it's just about every statistic that's out there. It's just like white women supposedly have a 63% marital rate. Supposedly. But like I say, you have to break those statistics down. And you have to. It is like I said, that statistics not an exact science. How do we know that that's the exact statistic? And so that's something. Just because what my point is, just because they throw a number out there and say this is the statistic, does not mean that you can't put 100% stock in what they every time they put something out there. And I just really I just felt like I had to do a video about this because there's many videos here on YouTube with black men and some black women talking about black women head of households. But they never told you, they said black female headed households. They never said if all those women had kids. That's what they didn't tell you in that statistic. Some of those women are, what is the percentage of black women that are the head of household that don't even have any children? Okay? There is a certain percentage of black women that are living by themselves in a house or an apartment, and they have no children. Okay, so what is the percentage of those black women are thrown in that statistic? And you got black women out there that might have adopted a child. They didn't have a child biologically, but they adopted a child. What is the percentage of those black women? Okay, now I haven't compiled those stats, but I haven't researched compiled those. I'm sorry. I don't compile them, but I haven't actually researched that stat. But those stats are out there. They're out there. There's a percentage of black women that are head of household. They're single and they're head of household, but they have chosen to adopt a child. Okay? So, when you think about the 70%, think about that. I just want that the next time you think about that 70%, think about that. That's not the exact right number. When you want to make the point that black women are raising children out of wedlock, because most of the time that statistic is thrown out when people are trying to make that point of black women raising children out of wedlock. Most of the time people throw that statistic out when they want to make that point. Well, next time, get the exact statistic on that. Before you do your video or whatever, get the exact statistic on that. How about that? Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about. Sweet June 2010.